One major poll promise in BJP's 2014 election manifesto was the black money, and nothing much was said and done about this in first 2 years, and that started to fade away the trust of the masses in BJP government. And around December 2015, Modi government announced a voluntary income disclosure scheme. Similar scheme was introduced by Dr. Manmohan Singh, but both these premier failed in convincing the black money holders to bring back their hidden treasure in lieu of a 40 to 50% tax and penalty, and rest of the money they could keep with themselves. But that failed as well. But Modi government knew that they had promised big on fight against corruption, and they had to deliver something big, otherwise people would devour them alive. And previously, there were a lot of reports as well regarding the existence of black money in Indian economy as a parallel economy. And then Modi government went on to do something exceptionally stupid. It decided to chop the hand off from shoulder, whereas it was just required to chop it off from the wrist. अगर आपके हाथों की उंगलियां खराब हो गई हैं तो आपको अपने हाथ को हथेली से काटना चाहिए ना कि कंधे से। और मोदी सरकार ने यही गलती कर दी। उसने हाथ को कलाई से काटने के बजाय उसे कंधे से काट दिया। Let me explain why. By formation of Monetary Policy Committee in 2015, Modi government tried their best to control and contain the rising inflation in the economy successfully. And when the inflation got lower, they committed a huge blunder. In November 2016, government announced demonetization without much consultation and much preparation. Stakeholders were not consulted at all, as it was a closely made decision. And mastermind of this demonetization were Anil Bokil and S. Gurumurthy, close aide of the RSS. Modi government did two blunders. First was the commission of demonetization, and another was the omission in providing enough liquidity to masses on the right time. And that led to a huge cash crunch in an already low inflation economy. ATMs were empty, pockets were empty as well. India's largely cash-based economy was doomed. But people still cherished the decision as a fight against corruption. And it was indeed a fight against corruption, but it was more like a fight against corruption with a nuclear bomb. And that nuclear bomb not only killed the corrupt, but it ended up killing the innocent and poor as well. But if it was such a bad decision and cost people dearly, then why didn't people protest? Why didn't people throw BJP out in 2019? In fact, on contrary, BJP went on to win the 2017 UP election on the back of the demonetization. And the reason lies not entirely in the Hindu-Muslim enmity, though it was there, or surgical strike, or the Balakot, but in something more complicated and very hard to get on. Let's try to know it a bit. When rich people were thinking of converting their old currency into new one, they took the help of poor people, like their domestic helps, security guards, drivers, workers in their real estate company, employees of their company, and so on and so forth. And the money charged by the poor people to help their rich and corrupt master was treated like a tax on the rich and the corrupt by the poor people and the government itself. It was called as convenience tax by the then Chief Economic Advisor Arvind Subramanian in Economic Survey 2016. It wasn't like as if the government did not know about such a deal going on. And as we all know, most of the currency came back except just a meager sum of the 50,000 crores out of the 15 lakh crore rupees. But the corrupt people gave 10 to 20% of their hidden wealth to the poor people, whose help they sought to save their black money. So around 2 to 3 lakh crore rupees was distributed from the corrupt to the poor people, whose help they sought to get their black money into the banking system. Cooperative banks were used to do the same by making backdated entries. As you know, cooperative banks were not connected to the core banking solution. Backdated temple donations were used to convert black money into white. So no matter which way you chose, but at least 10 to 20% had to be given to the poor person or the temple trust or the cooperative bank to convert their black money. And some economists, including Arvind Subramanian, considered this 10 to 20% liaison as a convenience tax. चलिए आपको एक साधारण भाषा में बताते हैं. मान लीजिए आप एक करप्ट आदमी हैं. आई एम सॉरी टू ऑफेंड यू, बट मान लीजिए आप एक करप्ट आदमी हैं, हाइपोथेटिकली, और 8 नवंबर की रात 8 बजे आपको पता चलता है कि भारत का प्रधानमंत्री टीवी पर आकर भारत के 500 और 1000 रुपए के नोट को लीगल टेंडर से हटा देता है. अब आपके पास बहुत सारा ब्लैक मनी पड़ा है, सूटकेस में है या इधर उधर आपने शिफ्ट किया हुआ है. वैसे एक और चीज़ बता दूं आपको, हिंदुस्तान में बहुत सारा पैसा है, माफ़ कीजिएगा, बहुत कम पैसा है जो कैश में है, जो लोग घरों में रखते हैं. मेजॉरिटी ऑफ द मनी लाइज इन द रियल एस्टेट और इन गोल्ड, और वो राउटिंग करके इंडिया वापस आ चुका होता है एफडीआई के तौर पर. बट चलिए सपोज कीजिए आपने अपने घर में बहुत सारा कैश रखा हुआ है ब्लैक में, अनाउंस हो गई डिमोनेटाइजेशन, तो आप क्या करेंगे? वो सारा का सारा पैसा बैंक में ले जाके दे देंगे? नहीं, आप अपने घर के नौकरों को ढूंढेंगे, आप ड्राइवर को ढूंढेंगे, आप सिक्योरिटी गार्ड को ढूंढेंगे, आप उनके अकाउंट में अपना पैसा शिफ्ट कराएंगे. लेकिन आपका ड्राइवर अपने अकाउंट में आपका पैसा क्यों डालेगा? क्योंकि बदले में आप उसे 10 या 15% जितना भी हो आप उसको देंगे. ऐसा ही रियल एस्टेट कंपनीज ने भी किया. जो रियल एस्टेट कंपनी एक एक महीने की तनख्वाह देने में रोती थी अपने वर्कर की, उन रियल एस्टेट कंपनीज ने अपने एम्प्लॉयज की 6-6 महीने की तनख्वाह एडवांस में दे दी. And this created a goodwill for the Modi in the eyes of the masses. This created the much needed euphoria in the eyes of the masses that Modi and only Modi had the guts to take on the fight with the corrupt and the elite. But all this goodwill could not fill the vacuum created by the suppression of demand due to lack of cash. Demonetization also impacted the psyche of the masses. After demonetization, they grew more hesitant into spending newfound notes of 2000. That was quite difficult to change in small denomination after a purchase. And most importantly, real estate sector suffered the most, as the real estate sector had gotten inflated from 2005 till 2015 on the back of the black money that poured into real estate sector due to foreign direct investment allowed in it since 2005. अगर आपने 2012 या 11 में कभी अपने फ्लैट ढूंढे हों, कहीं भी आप प्लॉट खरीदने गए हों, तो आपको एक चीज़ याद होगी कि कोई भी रियल एस्टेट डेवलपर जहाँ भी आप जाते थे तो वो 50% पैसा कैश में लेना पसंद करते थे, और वो कैश ब्लैक मनी होती थी. लेकिन डिमोनेटाइजेशन के बाद सब लोगों ने अपने पैसे बैंक में ट्रांसफर करने पड़े दूसरों के अकाउंट के नाम पे. तो आप कैसे बिल्डर को दे देंगे फ्लैट खरीदने के लिए? और इसकी वजह से आया डिफ्लेशन. रियल एस्टेट सेक्टर के प्राइसेस धड़ाम से नीचे गिर गए. अब रियल एस्टेट सेक्टर के अगर पैसे धड़ाम से नीचे गिर जाएंगे तो रियल एस्टेट डेवलपर आगे क्यों बिल्डिंग बनाएगा? तो बिल्डिंग नहीं बनाएगा तो उसको वर्कर नहीं चाहिएंगे. अब वर्कर नहीं चाहिए तो एम्प्लॉयमेंट चली गई. Oxford educated Dr. Manmohan Singh knew about the importance of black money in Indian economy, and he deliberately ignored it. And now Modi government knows about it too after demonetization debacle. That's why there is no more fuss about the black money. कहीं सुनने में नहीं आता आपको black money के बारे में आज. Black money was the silent driver of India's high growth since early 2000s. You hate it or not, as FDI was introduced majorly to accommodate black money sitting outside. I'm gonna make another detailed video on how black money inflated Indian economy since 2005. Now, post demonetization, Modi government introduced slew of too many economic reforms in too less time. The haphazard launch of GST, Real Estate Regulatory Authority shock to real estate, Reliance Jio reducing the competition to the ground, and leaving telecom sector into a deep crisis. All these reforms, and yes, I call these reforms going to do a lot good in near future. but these reforms acted more as a shock to an already ailing economy. Now, Modi government is trying hard to reverse the timeline and go beyond the demonetization era that killed the demand in the economy. Modi government is trying hard to push cash into the economy, but that is not seems to be happening as government planned. As you know, less demand means less production, and less production leads to less investment. That means less employment, and less employment means the end of the economy. So Modi era has had biggest failures of the decade. We know it as demonetization, and many big reforms introduced in too less of a time that came as an economic shock. But does that mean that Dr. Manmohan Singh's era of economic prudence was fine and should be brought back? Well, to know this, make sure you subscribe to this channel if you haven't already and hit the bell icon so you don't miss another video coming your way. Till then, take good care of yourself. Goodbye.